So y'all, Visa me back with another video. I see it by the thumbnail title reacted to Mr. Raskin commenting about Trump. I don't really have too much to say. Make sure y'all stay through the whole video because Mr. Raskin comes in around like 6-7 minutes or something like that. But the whole video is very, very, very important. Like I always tell y'all, every single video I post is very important. So make sure y'all stay tuned. Let's get it.
On October 7th, 2016, 1 month before the presidential election, Donald Trump nearly lost his entire political career as we know it. And the trauma of the past 8 years that we have had to live through almost didn't happen, all due to this Access Hollywood tape.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just like, I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the.
Now,
We're 20 seconds into the video. Yo, we're 20 seconds into the video. Grab them by the what? And if they're what, you could do anything? What? Oh my gosh, bro. Yeah.
Reaction across most segments of society, from the media to the political class, from everyday Americans, was shock. The blowback was so bad that Trump made an apology for the first time and perhaps the only time in his political life the very next day.
I've never said I'm a perfect person, nor pretended to be someone that I'm not. I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. I pledge to be a better man tomorrow and will never, ever let you down.
America had never seen a presidential candidate like Trump before, and certainly had never voted anyone like him into the White House after a scandal of this magnitude. The general consensus was that Trump's presidential campaign was about to approach a rapid death with little pushback. And then, of course, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was one of the first to condemn Donald Trump, signaling that Republicans would not condone his actions. Election be damned. In a statement at the time, in fact, he said these comments are repugnant and unacceptable in any circumstance. As the father of 3 daughters, I strongly believe that Trump needs to apologize directly to women and girls everywhere and take full responsibility for the utter lack of respect for women shown in his comments on that tape. Now, dozens of Republicans denounced Trump, including his own running mate at the time, Mike Pence, but he persisted, and somehow, amazingly, against all odds, he stayed on the ticket, and Republicans let him. On November 2nd, 2016, just days before the election, Senator McConnell, who hadn't pulled his endorsement of the presidential candidate, spoke at a rally in his home state of Kentucky, where he made his strongest public remarks yet in favor of Donald Trump. He said, quote, "We need a new president, Donald Trump, to be the most powerful Republican in America." And Trump, of course, went on to win the election in 2016, but he lost his second run for the White House in 2020, a fact that he refuses to accept. Which takes us to the January 6th insurrection. Rioters spurred on by Donald Trump, some of them armed, broke into the U.S. Capitol and attempted to overthrow U.S. democracy by force. They destroyed windows, tore down doors, brutally beat law enforcement officers to interrupt the certification of President Joe Biden's victory over Trump. Some of them called out Vice President Mike Pence and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, threatening them by name. Here's Senator McConnell speaking for members of Congress who had been in hiding, and all of America in the aftermath of January 6th.
I can't even imagine this man loses this year. If they're doing this over a fair election, when Biden winning, I can't imagine what they're going to do this year. If black females win. I don't want to put race into it. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what these MFs is gonna do. If they could do that to the Capitol, they could do that to neighborhoods. They could do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, disgusting work. Jesus.
We've never been deterred before, and will be not deterred today. They tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed. They failed.
Now, I want to play what McConnell actually said 1 month later as the Senate voted in Trump's second impeachment trial to convict the former president for inciting that insurrection.
There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day. No question about it.
That was what McConnell said before he joined the majority of his party to acquit Trump for his role in that riot, saying the ex-president was not constitutionally eligible for conviction. The senator added, quote, "The Constitution gives us a particular role. This body is not invited to act as the nation's overarching moral tribunal." Based on McConnell's own forthcoming biography, we now know that in private he called Trump stupid and despicable following the 2020 election. And on January 6th, when he was holed up with other congressional leaders, once he knew the immediate danger was gone, he found his staff barricaded inside his office, and he sobbed softly as he thanked them. "You are my family, and I hate the fact that you had to go through this," he told them. Now, McConnell wants to get credit now for having moral clarity when it comes to Donald Trump after sobbing with his staff over what he helped unleash onto this country again and again and again. Now, years later, Trump is locked in a tight race where he could again become the president of the United States. And on Thursday night, a man who warns of the enemy within, who threatens mass deportations, who talks about immigrants poisoning the blood of this country, who declares himself the protector of women after being found liable of sexually abusing a woman, that man was a guest of honor at the annual Al Smith dinner. It's a white tie event that is hosted by the Archbishop of New York, a who's who of political and cultural elites in this country. And the dinner raises money for Catholic charities, and it brings together presidential candidates from both parties to roast each other and themselves. Here was Trump's wild, offensive, and hateful display as he gave remarks at that charity dinner.
But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president. I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz. I'm surprised that Bill de Blasio was actually able to make it tonight, to be honest. He was a terrible mayor. I don't give a if this is comedy or not. He was a terrible mayor.
If any regular citizen had a history rivaling Donald Trump's, they would have never been invited to such an elite event. If they had, there would have been mass protests. It would have been an outrage. Such a person would have been canceled and shunned by society. And yet, thanks to the so-called establishment Republicans like Mitch McConnell, Trump wasn't only invited, he was actually a guest of honor. And he could be on track to be on more podiums, spewing more hatred and sowing more division for the next 4 years as our next president. Make no mistake about it. Those Republicans who have normalized Donald Trump and in crucial moments when the American public looked to them for guidance, they are the ones who relented. They are the ones who looked away from Trump's extremism and transgressions, allowing him to become a permanent fixture in our politics and in our life. And you know what's even worse? Behind closed doors, they knew exactly what they were doing. Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He was the lead House impeachment manager during Trump's second impeachment trial and one of the 9 members of the January 6th House Select Committee. Congressman, it's great to have you here in person. Just your thoughts, when you kind of look at what we just laid out there and the normalization of Donald Trump, that yet we talk about how much of a danger he is, how much of a threat he is, what he has done to the fabric of our politics and to our country, and yet he is still normalized in these types of setting among the powerful, the elite, and the wealthy in this country.
Thank you for having me, Eamon. Your intro brought me back to the Senate impeachment trial where Mitch McConnell indeed said that Donald Trump was practically and morally responsible for everything that took place, which was completely obvious after we introduced the evidence in the case. But he said that the Senate lacked jurisdiction to try a former president, which was a proposition that not only contradicted 2 centuries of precedent, but it was one that we dealt with on the first day of the trial. There was a procedural motion to dismiss on the grounds that we didn't have jurisdiction, and that was rejected. So in a certain sense, that makes the 57-43 verdict in the trial, which sounds like a conviction, but We needed 2/3. We needed
Right.
67. It really makes it into the greatest case of jury nullification in American history, because McConnell and 20 other senators who said the same thing essentially went back to a question of law that had already been disposed of at the preliminary level in the trial in order to decide the facts, when they all said the facts were very clear that Donald Trump had incited an insurrection. But what it really reflects is the balance of power in the Republican Party. They were not willing to take Trump on because they felt that he could walk away with too many millions of people. He was threatening to run against the Republicans. And that's the bottom line. I mean, with these atrocious, vulgar, repulsive remarks that he made at the Al Smith dinner, what we see is that nobody is really willing to take Trump on. The Senate wasn't willing to convict him. The Supreme Court is in his pocket because he's gerrymandered and stacked and packed the Supreme Court. The Republican Party, except for Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and Mitt Romney and a handful of others, is not willing to take him on, which means that the American people must do it at the election, because all of the other institutions have completely capitulated to this fraud of a man.
So to that point about how fragile our system is, and specifically the types of people that are like Mitch McConnell, these are people who, you know, he announced his retirement and so no longer has political skin in the game. And perhaps that's why now his book, or he's comfortable with his thoughts about Trump being shared again in this book. But is it because of power that these people are just cowards and are afraid to stand up to Donald Trump, lest they end up like a Liz Cheney, having power stripped from them?
Well, there's some tribalistic tectonic shifts taking place in the country. America, because of the brilliance of our founders and also the extraordinary social and political and constitutional struggles we've been through, is now the world's greatest multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious constitutional democracy. And there are some people who can't handle that fact. Donald Trump is the leader of those people, and they're willing to forgive anything he says, all of his vulgarities, his sexual assaults against women, his sexual harassment of women, his invocation of racist tropes, his anti-Semitic utterances, like if he loses, it will be the fault of the Jews, and so on. They're willing to forgive all of that simply because they can't handle the new America that's emerged.
Well spoken by Mr. Raskin. Wow, did not think about it like that, but Donald Trump's the leader of that pack, bro. Shout out to McConnell for saying what he got to say in this. Let me know how you felt about this down in the comment section, please, because about 2 weeks, right, to the election. So we shall see how this goes. We shall see how this goes. It's very interesting. This stuff is very, very interesting. I'm so glad I'm this young and I get to experience this in this channel. And my cat jumping on me. Get off me, please. Yeah, y'all. But I got way more videos to do. Make sure y'all sub up to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Make sure y'all comment, like the videos. Every video is important, so make sure y'all pay attention to every video I post, because every video has meaning behind it, and it's very important, especially when it comes up to the election, y'all. I love y'all so much. Peace and love, baby. And we out.